All right, I'm going to talk non-hockey for a moment here. Just take a break for a bit because every now and then so I had somebody email me this morning about this, and this is something that's been going around lately, and people are like, "Oh, do you have that problem?" And I get this, so I'm going to address it now. Let's get into my background before we talk about the wonders of being a YouTube creator. I worked at a ceramic shop for a couple years. It is a shame ceramic shops are no longer around. That was the most enjoyable job I think I've ever had. It didn't pay very well. It also didn't pay very often. You'd be really busy up until about 2 weeks before Christmas, and then no hours until about the end of January. But whether it was mixing clay or just pouring ceramic molds and just it was great. And then I had a whole set of ceramic dragons that I had all painted up. And this was before being a nerd was cool. So, and then I gave them all away because that's what I do. I literally gave them all away to people, and you could charge 50, $60 at craft fairs for them, and I just gave them away to people. So that was a fun job, but it didn't pay very well. So I went out to a poultry farm where I had the fun of eviscerating ducks, geese, chickens. We had pheasants, quail. It was a lot. There was a lot of different things. Every now and then something would be coming down the line. You'd be like, "What in the world is this?" Because by the time you've seen it, it's dead and it doesn't have feathers. So that was fun. I did that for 7 years. And when I went out there, people said, "Shannon, you won't last at that job. It's a crappy job." And I'm like, "I'll show you." I really showed them. I don't really think these things through. And then I left there to go to a call center that I worked at for 7 years. I went to the call center because it was better pay, and it wasn't poultry anymore. I'm like, I won't stink when I come home from work. That'll be nice. And I used to come home from the farm, and I would just pass out wherever I was. Just come home and just pass out. Because I worked from 6 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and I rode my bike to and from work. And the ride to work was about 35 minutes. Ride home was the same. And keep in mind where I live, the weather's not usually nice during the winter, and I still rode my bike to work during the winter. People are like, "Well, don't you want to drive in the snow? Why are you riding your bike?" And I'm like, because if I fall off my bike, I get back up and get back on it. If I'm in your car and there's a car accident, I may not. And yeah, and that does happen. The one time I went against, well, it wasn't the only time, but there was one point where I was like, Shannon, you're just paranoid about nothing. You're not going to get in a car accident. Just get in the car. So I got in my buddy's car, and then he ran into a tree. And after that, I rode my bike all the time after that. So I spent 7 years of poultry, 7 years at a call center, during which I gained about 25, 30 pounds, because that's what happens. No, it was more than that. It was about 50. And so I had to lose weight in order to go to a meat processing plant, which wasn't very far from that call center. And I worked at the meat processing plant for 10 years, and that's where I was working when I started this channel. So I would go to work in the morning for 4:20 in the morning. We worked till 1 o'clock, stop giggling. And we would work till 1 in the afternoon. And then I would come home and I'd make videos. And I would go to work the next day, and I'd tell people, yeah, made videos yesterday after I was done work. And they're like, "And how much money did they make?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, 50 cents. And they'd be like, just like whatever. So now for the last about 2 years, it'll be 2 years in April, this has been it. This has been my main job. And I had a couple of part-time jobs in between all of this. But in general, that's been my career progression. So coming into YouTube, I come in with a lot of experience doing what are basically crappy jobs that don't really care about your family or life balance. They would say that, and anytime they would call us into a meeting like, "Remember to make balance in your life and don't make work everything," and I'm like, "Oh my God, we've got overtime coming." And then the next week there'd be like 4 hours overtime every day, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, they warned us." So I always had employers that kind of pretended they cared about whether or not there was life balance, but if I signed up for overtime every day, they didn't ask why. So when I was depressed about 5 years ago, and I was signing up for every bit of overtime I could get because I didn't want to go home sometimes, they didn't ask, they didn't care. They're just like, right, cool, you're one of the team players. And I'm thinking, I'm so depressed I want to die, but yeah, I'm a team player. And so I came into this whole YouTube thing with my eyes wide open, like, all right, this is a huge company that if I'm doing videos, and if there's ad placements and all this stuff that helps them out, they're gonna be happy with me. And if I decide to leave the platform, I don't care. They're still making money out of everybody else. So I am not important. And much like these jobs set me up to know that I'm not important, that I can be replaced very, very easily. So I come into this with my eyes wide open. Now, the first thing is I'll just touch on COPPA again. Right now, there's a lot of YouTube creators that are very worried about COPPA, and some of them have every right in the world to be concerned. And I think we're going to lose some great content. We homeschool our kids, and a lot of the educational material that my wife uses for the kids is through YouTube videos that are monetized, do have ads, and they're educational for little kids. So that's the kind of stuff that, according to the rules, may very well be gone off the platform as soon as January, which I think is an absolute shame. But what I make here isn't geared towards kids. I know there'll be false flags. I know there's machine learning going on. So I hear that and I go, oh, it's 2017 all over again, where I'd upload a video and go, okay, that's not monetized. Why? And then I'd have to go back and forth with YouTube about that. Now, my channel's big enough that I have a contact at YouTube. I haven't really utilized it yet, but I have a contact at YouTube, I guess a manager or whatever you want to call it. I don't think he lives anywhere around here or anything, but every now and then I'll get an email directly from him, and he'll address it to Shannon and Yvonne. So I'm like, okay, so he's at least aware of the content, unlike a lot of the multi-channel networks that'll mail me like, dear hockey guy, we love your videos, blah, blah, blah. They do this, and I'm like, you guys don't know, you just want my money. So the COPPA thing's out there, and there are ways of dealing with that, and I'm sure that it'll impact every channel on some level, but not anywhere near as dire for me as it will be for some of the creators that are going to get hit hard. Now, and I have watched all the videos. I have watched all like the legalese videos and all that stuff. I've watched it, and I'm not overly concerned. Now, here's the thing. So, Susan, the CEO of YouTube, comes up there. We're very concerned about the mental health of our creators, and if you need time off, take time off. And don't worry, your subscribers will still be there when you get back, and they'll understand. They don't, though. They don't always understand, and I've seen that. I follow some of the bigger channels, and even I sometimes don't understand. There are instances I see where people take a break, and I'm like, you're not taking a break. You're just leaving because you created a bunch of crappy controversy and you don't want to answer for it. That's what happens a lot. Oh, I took a break with good timing. That's sort of like, I lit a match, threw it in the corner. Oh, all those oily rags in the corner just lit on fire. Well, I'm going for my break. And your supervisor is going to tell you, go put the fire out. But around here, we don't have a supervisor, so they just let the fire burn for 6 weeks, and then they come back. I don't know what happened. There's this fire, and it happened, and oh, wow, can you get a picture of me with the fire? And it's so silly. But the fact is that YouTube does not encourage time off. Every time I upload a video, it tells me how it's doing compared to the last 10 videos I've done. So if I do a video on a career of, if I do a video where it's sort of like this, these kinds of videos normally don't perform very well. It'll give me warnings like, this video's not performing well. Your watch time is really low, and it'll give me a link I can click on. It'll tell me, you're not engaging with your audience. There's a problem. And so this whole thing about, we understand if you need a break. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't worry about how each single video that I make is performing. You wouldn't be giving me all these notifications, monthly reports. My monthly report last month said that I gained 2,200 subscribers, and it said, this seems to be down from your usual subscriber gains, and it gave me this whole link to all this other crap on how to increase subscriber numbers and all this. And I'm thinking, so I see this, and then you've got like wild revenue fluctuations, which are craziest now. So you go from making pretty good money, and then through the month of November and December, ad rates are highest because that's Christmas, right? Christmas buy rates. So your revenues will be highest during December, and then they just crash. They just crash. And I'm going to check out whether or not that crash is going to happen to me this year, because the revenue has gone up. It doesn't feel like it's as dramatic as it was the first couple of years that I had this channel and it was growing. So maybe they've balanced it out. I know we creators have discuss this with YouTube, like, hey, there's a lot of difference between one month and the next, and yet my view counts are the same, my subscriber counts are the same, my watch time is the same. Why did I make this much less money? And it can be a difference of up to 20% in a month, where it just dives or it goes through the roof. And then you look at all your numbers and you go, on my end it's fine. And they don't tell you. And they don't tell you when that drop's going to happen. They don't tell you when it's going to go up. So you don't get an email from YouTube saying, hey, ad rates are going to go up over the next couple of weeks. You guys produce content this next couple of weeks. You'll probably make more on those videos than you did previously. So yeah, they're really concerned about our mental health. And then all the video performance stats, all of that stuff that's in there. And so this doesn't exactly, like, just imagine walking into your job and you walk up and go, so what's my hourly wage today? And your boss goes, I don't know, do 10 hours of work and find out. I don't know. And maybe you make more in 6 hours than you would have in 10 hours within 2 weeks of each other. And you're like, I can't figure this out. Now, right now, we're seeing like PewDiePie has announced he's taking a break, and at least in the new year. And Phil DeFranco's taking a break till January 21st. I will admit this. When I watched his Monday show and he said, taking a break till January 21st, I laughed out loud. That's right when the revenues start going up again. So your revenues from Christmas for about a month, they're down because ad rates are down. And then that last month of January, your ad rates start going up again. So I thought, so you're going to leave, you're going to take some time off to get yourself together while videos would make the least amount of money they do a year. And hey, that's a smart way of doing it. But that's how I see it. When I see all these YouTubers like, I'm going to take a break. It's pretty big of you. Now, what I do here, I talk about hockey 365 days a year. And I do. And I haven't taken a day off in over 2 years. We have 2 trips coming up. We're going to Anaheim/Disneyland in January. I've already reached out to one of the subscribers from the channel who I know she goes to Disneyland every other day, it would seem, according to her Twitter feed. And I've said, hey, we're looking at maybe some tricks of the trade to getting around Disneyland. Do you mind if I, talk to you and bend your ear while we're there? And she said, yep, I'd be the person to talk to about that. And so, we've already got that out there. And then we're going to Vegas again in March because Vegas is the cheapest trip you can take as long as you don't gamble or drink. Those are the key things. If you're gambling or drinking, it is no longer cheap. It's just not. Or going to a hockey game, apparently. Dear Lord. So, during those trips, of course, I'm still making videos because that's how that works. There's still hockey going on while we're in Disneyland. Now, that's going to be during the time of the All-Star break. So there'll be a few days there where there isn't any hockey going on, so it's not going to be a big deal. And then in March, that's during spring break, which doesn't make any difference to hockey, but it means that there's going to be some craziness in Vegas, which means I can probably do some entertainment guy videos while I'm there too, because I have the second channel. Now, in terms of the whole, we don't want Shannon to get burned out thing, I understand, but that's why I use whiteboards. This is why I make sure I've got this set with all these jerseys on it, and I've always made sure that the cats are prominent in videos. There's a reason there's a cat tree on this set. I don't need the cat tree on the set, but there's people who've been with this channel since it started out, and the cats were a part of it then. I've always tried to maintain this relationship with my subscribers that it's just hanging out, and it's just this relaxed hanging out atmosphere. There are days where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I remember all this. And where I'm different from a lot of these other subscribers are like, I'm burned out. And then I hear their schedule. And there was one I was reading that starts their videos at 5 in the morning and they work until 1 in the morning the next day. Well, yeah, no kidding, you're going to get burned out. Like, these are people who are obsessed on every last minute detail of the video and making sure it's 100% clean. Like, and this is one of those ones I would guess where you have a million little cuts in there. Little cuts you may not even notice if you're not watching. If you're just listening and you're doing something else, you may not even notice those little cuts are in there. So they've done this spiel, their video, probably 8, 9, 10, 15 times. And now they're editing together each take where they thought, okay, I like that take for that part and that take for that part and that take for, and I don't do that. I've never done it. I'm not going to do it. I do stress myself out at times. So the last thing that I need is an encouragement to stress myself out further. So that's why I don't get into a lot of the minutia of stuff that YouTubers do. And then there's the value added quotient. For instance, I'm always buying boards and magnets and finding ways to make new magnets out of old stickers, that kind of thing. And so I've always got them handy. They were always right within reach because you just never know where there could be an emergency and you need some magnets. I'm not even kidding. But in general, I'll even show like I've got various types that may just be within reach for me. But, in general, once I'm done my videos for the day, I'm kind of done the videos for the day. Now, I watch all the games and all that, but I don't feel like I get burned out. And when I feel like I'm getting that way, I just remember I had plenty of times where, here for 10 years, you had no idea. You could walk in at 6 o'clock. There was one day where we started at 5:50, which was the start time for most of the plant. When I started at 4:20, I was in the shipping area. Stop laughing. It's a time. So I would start at 4 a.m. and 20 minutes in the morning. And most of the plant started at 5:50. That was part of the reason I liked starting early, because I could start before everybody got there when it was really, really quiet. And it was just myself and a few guys in the shipping area. It was actually really nice. But you would walk in at the start of the day and you wouldn't know. You might be able to go home halfway through your shift. Your boss could walk up and go, "You want to go home?" "Yep." "Sure." And then your brain would go, "Don't you need money?" And you'd be like, "Shut up, brain. We're going to go play video games. Don't worry about the money. You're just going to go play video games." Or you might walk in and halfway through your shift, your boss walks up to you and goes, "Yeah, I need you to stay for an extra 2 hours today." And then you're like, "But I wanted to go home at my regular time." "Yeah, you're not going home today." And that was that. And sometimes there was one instance where we all went in at 5:50. This was before I was in the shipping area. And it was a dead day. There was nothing. So at 10 o'clock, I went home. So I went home. Everything's great. And then after they sent like a third of the plant home, they get a call from the client that we're actually supplying the meat to, saying, "Hey, we're going to match the sale that Save On Food, or not Save On, we were Save On, match the sale that Superstore's putting on steaks right now," which meant that all of a sudden they needed to run steak for the next 8 hours halfway through their shift. Well, that's 12 hours, right? So what happened was everybody that didn't go home at 10 o'clock, everybody said, "Well, I'll just work my 8 hours and go home." They got forced to stay for 12, while the rest of us went home at 4. They were trying to call us, those of us that had gone home at 4. I knew better than to answer my phone. I'm not answering my phone. And then when we went in the next day with this craziness going on, and these people were mad at those of us that went home at 10 o'clock. I remember people were saying to me, "Oh, they said you guys are in trouble for not answering your phones and coming back to work." And I'm like, how? I'm off. I signed a sheet to say that I was off, that I was going home early. They signed me out. I'm not in trouble. "Oh, yes, you are." And I wasn't in trouble. There was nothing they could do. So that kind of uncertainty, I don't have that here. There are times where there's some uncertainty when it comes to being a YouTuber. There are times where there's stress when it comes to being a YouTuber, but there's nowhere near the stress I had in that job. I would come home on a Friday at the end of my week, and I would relax Friday night. Saturday, I'd watch some hockey, because that's what I did even then, because I like hockey. And I would just chill a little bit. But by the time Sunday night rolled around, I'd be like, "Oh man, I got to go back to work on Monday. I really don't want to do that." And then Sunday was just crap. Sunday would just be, I don't want to go to work. And if you've ever worked at a call center, you do shift bids all the time. So what hours you work and what days off you get change regularly. You can't get into any kind of a schedule, and there's so much stress about your numbers, because your numbers decide your seniority. So when I have all that experience with that, and that's almost 20 years of my time in the workforce, it puts everything into perspective. Absolutely everything into perspective. So there you go. It's I understand there's people who are taking time off. I am far more cynical. I think people take time off when they know that the revenues are going to drop. You can save your money in November and December. I mean, you get paid a month later anyways, right? So your November revenues pay out in December. Your December revenues pay out in January. So you get that sweet November revenue in December. You can go on a holiday, and then while you're on a holiday in the middle of January, you get your money again. And then you can go, oh, I'm not going to make very much for February because I haven't done videos this month. I better go home and do some videos. So at least February is not a complete dead zone. That's how I see it. Anyways, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I do understand that, you know, there are difficulties in starting up a channel. There are difficulties in getting it going. People always ask me, like, well, how did you start things up? I don't know. I just pointed the camera at myself and talked to it, and eventually people came. That's it. And I've never changed that approach. I'm very glad that I don't have a job working for a TV network. When Rogers was here on Sunday, I saw how they set everything up and how everything is, and I was like, I would not enjoy that. That would not be fun for me. I don't think I'd like that at all. So, you know, it's and it's funny because I see people saying, "Oh, well, it'd be great if you were on TV." Yeah, but on TV, there's no certainty either. How many guys, especially when it comes to sportscasters, have found themselves either out of work through contraction with Rogers/Sportsnet, or just, you know, networks changed, like TSN lost the NHL contract. That had to change things for people at TSN. So there are various stressors, but I would have those stressors if I was in any other job as well. And at least we're on a platform here with YouTube where we can walk away if we want. And with any of those jobs, I really didn't have that opportunity. If at the poultry farm I walked up to my boss and said, I'm feeling really burned out, I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to take some time off, he would have yelled at me and swore at me and said, get back on the line or you're fired. So, you know, it's all perspective. Perspective makes a huge difference. So when I see a lot of these people who mostly are in their 20s and they're like, I saw there was one quote in the article I read today of, I'd like to do anything else other than being a YouTuber, but this is my career now, so I'm stuck in it. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't think you'd like to do anything else. I got a few jobs I could send you to. You really love being a YouTuber at that point. You have no problem being up in the middle of the night to edit a video rather than doing this crap. So it's all perspective, and sometimes that's where it helps me being older than all the other YouTubers. I assume I'm the oldest person on YouTube. I know I'm not, but I just assume that I am. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support, for helping this channel get to 129,000 is right around the bend, and I know it is because my phone will tell me through the YouTube app. And if my subscribers don't increase fast enough, it notifies me, hey. And I get emails too. So I get the notification through the app and an email saying, hey, your channel's not growing as fast as it was. It's not even that it's contracting. It's just not growing as fast as it was. And they go, hey, what's going on? Yeah, it's a hockey channel. Sometimes you're going to get 250 subscribers in a day. Sometimes you're going to get 10. It's just the way it works. All right. Thanks again. You guys make this worth doing. And now I'm going to try to cobble together a news video. I don't think there's going to be a news video today overall, but I've also got hockey with the kids today, so I've got that going on. And thank you guys so much for helping this channel get to where it is. And for people curious as well, I'll throw this in here. We are going to do a meetup on Boxing Day in Port Moody. It's through the Facebook Hockey Guy page. If you haven't seen it, so we're going to do it at Port Moody because there's a covered area there, so if the weather sucks, it's fine. We can still have that. And there's no hockey on Boxing Day, so I figured I might as well go meet up with people. So that's a stress reliever as well. I know when I was at the hometown hockey and that kind of weird setup with the outdoor hockey and you got to sign a waiver, and I'm like, waiver, okay, fine, I'll sign a waiver. But it gave me that itch. Where I was like, as soon as we got there and I saw there were people playing street hockey, I was like, hey, Vaughn, I want to play. And I couldn't because they were all teams. And I was like, I want to play. And I told her, I said, I could have just had a meetup here and we could have just stormed it and just overwhelmed it. They couldn't have kept us out if there were like 30 of us just climbing over the boards. But anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and if you don't, YouTube will tell me, because they care about their creators and they care so much about our mental health that they tell us absolutely every minutia detail about every video, because they care. Not because they make more money if you watch longer. Not because they make more money if I make more videos. Not because they make more money if my videos get more views. They do it because they care. Yeah, that's why they do it. All right, now I'm done. I will talk to you again soon.